All right, a lot of people joining in. Welcome. We'll just give it a minute and then we will begin.
Seeing so many familiar names. Hi, you guys. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Riley. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome.
Folks, feel free to use the chat. Of course, all of you are familiar with Zoom webinars by now. Everyone experts, perhaps. All of you join in. Feel free to use the chat. Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Pete's telling us from where he's joining. Yeah. Do let us know where you're joining us from. Whether it's early morning, whether it's noon, whether it's late night. We're going to be having folks from all over the globe joining us today.
Hats off to anybody in APAC joining us. It is quite late for you.
2 a.m. in Manila. Wow.
Woo.
That's some dedication. That's some dedication.
No pressure. I can't disappoint. 2 a.m. Holy moly.
Wow. Hi, Ryan. Can anyone beat 2 a.m.? Is there anyone joining us later than that?
Oh my goodness. Or earlier. Is it earlier?
Awesome. All right, great. Thanks a lot. And keep those messages coming in. You know what to do. There's a chat window right there. So let's just begin straight away. Hello and welcome all of you to Masters of Sales. This is an initiative by Outplay. We're essentially a sales engagement platform that helps sales reps get better at selling and making selling a lot more easier. And just to make things a lot more better for all of you, one of the reasons why we're doing this initiative of Masters of Sales is we've managed to get easily 4 of the best sales practitioners, sales influencers. They've done absolutely everything in sales right here to tell you what it is to sell today. Because the world has changed, the world is moved. Of course, all of us been through the pandemic, things have become hybrid, but we're also dealing with recession as well and the wave of recession that's happening today. How are people selling? What's happening right now? But the reality is that a lot of the times the fundamentals still remain the same. The basics still remain the same. It's just that you need to adapt your techniques, you need to adapt your ways to sell. And for that, we managed to get 4 of these top people coming in and talking to you about what it is and how it is to sell. We're going to be talking about everything from personalization to AI to hybrid selling to pipeline over absolutely everything. You name it, we've got it here at Masters of Sales. And just to make life easier, we decided, okay, instead of having one day with four folks talking across 4 hours, we said, okay, we'll spread it out over the course of the month so that you can take your time, spend that 1 hour, do join us today and be part of this session. Quick house rules. All of you know how to use Zoom webinar, so that's quite familiar. Please use the chat and feel free to ask questions during the course of this entire session. Of course, we'll take your questions right at the end. The entire session is going to be for approximately an hour. So do be mindful if in case we're crossing time, we will have your questions there. We will get back to you at some other point in time for sure. But with that, let me first introduce our first speaker of Masters of Sales, somebody who absolutely needs no introduction. I'm sure all of you who joined here today have come best because for Samantha McKenna. Thanks, Sam, for joining us today. She's the founder and the person who's leading up the CEO of Sam Sales Consulting. And she's going to talk to you about something that they trademarked recently, if I got that right. Show me, you know me. That's trademarked. You can't use that name apart from asking Sam and her team on how to use it and how to connect and sell authentically. Over to you, Sam. All yours. We'll talk back in the end, right down to the Q&A.
Thanks. Hi, you guys. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys and the Outplay team for having me. We are going to pack so much into the session. If you have seen me present before, you know I talk really quickly. Sometimes I make a few jokes, and hopefully you're going to get a few tangible things out of this presentation. Now, we're going to talk about the concept called Show Me, You Know Me, as mentioned, right? It's on a wall behind me here. If you can see, it's framed. It's really near and dear to our hearts. As I said, or as we said, it's been trademarked. And to us, Show Me, You Know Me bleeds through every single part of our deal cycle, from the very first email we send to anybody all the way to when we've had a client for 20, 30 years, right? It's really the art of understanding who our buyers are, who they are as people, their companies, their verticals, their space, everything about them. But today we're going to tackle the most important, critical first thing that we do, which is to send cold emails. How do we do this authentically? How do we connect with people in the right way? How do we avoid all the kind of personalization at scale stuff that's being done out there? And how do we come across as an authentic person that buyers actually want to spend time with? Now, we focus on this because it's something that we do every single day, right? Think of how many emails you've already sent today, whether to your existing clients, proposals you're trying to move along, new accounts you're trying to crack. There's so much that we're doing. And Show Me You Know Me truly is a game changer that helps you stand out. I'm going to tell you just one thing here too. In using Show Me You Know Me, almost every single time we've got a new client that starts, the results are far and above what we are hoping for. In fact, 2 results just recently from clients who were using Show Me You Know Me. One, I had 22 BDRs who sent under 500 emails in about a week, and they got 127 responses and 41 meetings booked. Holy cannoli. In a week, right? Unbelievable results. Another client just started with us, and when they're sending these emails out to prospects, not only are they getting responses, but the prospects are saying, we're sending this to our own BDR team to say, this is what good looks like. This really matters, and it'll help you stand out. And the final thing I will tell you, when you think about using this, we are the queens of Show Me You Know Me at Sam Sales, right? We talk about this all day long, but I'll tell you, the prospecting emails that we get in no way do Show Me You Know Me. So even as we preach and we say, do this, get in front of your clients, this is how you win a meeting with us, people still don't do it. And what that means is your competition is pretty low. So if you think about this, if you start to learn and to build this muscle, yes, it will take you a long time to start learning. It might take you 30 minutes to write the first email, but you'll get faster at it, you'll get the hang of it, and it will pay off. Quality over quantity all day long. So let's dive into it. A couple of quick notes just about us. I've got Kim on my side here too, who is our head of enablement and strategy. She teaches us all day long. She's even better at it than I am, if you can believe that. We were founded in 2019. We're almost 4 years old. An all-women team of 11. We've got 170 clients. We've referred over $6.5 million in revenue. Raise money for charity left and right. We do a lot. Send caffeine. We are tired. We're having a great time. That's us in a nutshell. Just so you know a little bit of my background as well. I've been in enterprise sales for 16 years. I've broken over 13 sales records myself, been an executive leader, worked at LinkedIn, did a whole lot of stuff, and now I get to teach this all day long. So in terms of expertise in sales, right, I've been in your shoes, right? I've been figuring out how to open accounts, how to crack them, how to close deals, how to bring in multi-year, multi-million-dollar deals at some really impressive accounts. And it really comes down to one word that you heard earlier. It's the fundamentals. They don't change over time, right? And Show Me You Know Me is exactly one of those. Every single thing that we talk about, and certainly Show Me You Know Me, relates back to this quote. If you don't know who Michael Porter is, first of all, he's just kind of a legend, right? Harvard Business School professor, author, economist. But I love this quote because it really bleeds to the values we have at Sam Sales. Everything that we do is about the art of being different. How do we stand out? How do we turn the volume up a little bit on something? How do we do a different subject line? How do we act differently when we lose a deal? What is it that we can do to be different, to stand out? The other thing I will say is the bar, unfortunately, is pretty low in sales, right? What we expect of salespeople is usually like, oh, it's even the thing that I thought about when I got into sales. I was like, sales? No way, Jose, right? We still have a lot of work to do about how awesome our profession is. But so if the bar is low and if people expect just not a great experience with sales, we don't even have to work that hard to be better, right? So think about how to be different. Think about how to do things differently, particularly when we do our cold outreach. So what is Show Me You Know Me? Let's start here. Process of building trust and credibility between us and the prospect. Frankly, just showing them that we've done our homework, right? Learning who they are as a human, understanding their company, and understanding their pain points that's associated with their buyer persona. We want to make sure that final part is really important because a lot of us will just reach out and we'll give marketing, jargon. This is what we do. We're really awesome at it. And we help companies that are much bigger than you. Want to buy our stuff? No. We got to think about the buyer persona. Who are we targeting? What keeps them up at night? I hate that line, but truly, what keeps them up at night? What are they challenged with? And how can we truly solve it, right? When we think about this, who is the person? What is their company? What's their space? Who's the buyer persona? This is the art of Show Me You Know Me, just as a starting point, particularly when we think about emails. Now, personalization really matters. Why? Let's talk about this. Look at a couple of just quotes directly from Forbes, McKinsey, Harvard Business Review. Personalization matters. And not only does it matter, as I talked about before, nobody is doing it. In fact, McKinsey states that only 8% of companies are doing it. But look at that. If 8% of companies are doing it, 3/4 of those companies, 75% of the ones that are doing it are seeing positive results and are growing their market share. So what that tells you is what we always look for, right? How do we find low friction? How do we find low competition? And how do we find a way for us to make a difference? If there's almost no competition doing this, what an easy way to stand out. And again, book those meetings. To me, Show Me You Know Me starts with prospecting. How do we even decide who to go after, right? We want to make sure that we're going after the right titles. How often have we kind of spun our wheels going after the wrong buyers or the wrong ICP? You remember a very long time ago, we sold B2B, stuff. And one of these reps kept coming back to me and saying, I'm trying to sell to these consumers. And I talked to, a hospital to see if the doctors wanted to buy us. And I'm like, I don't know how to tell you, but we sell B2B. And I really need you to focus on that. So really important that we focus on the right buyer. Check out this email. Somebody sent a note to one of our BDRs, Lily, and said something like this: just seeing if you had a chance to read a previous email, love to show you how we can improve your recruitment process. Well, Lily was our BDR. She has nothing to do with our recruitment process, right? She doesn't even touch it. And so thinking about how to start, right? If we're going to make the investment in Show Me You Know Me, we want to start with our buyers. We want to start to see if we can crack the door in at that high level. How do we get in with the decision makers? How do we start getting in with the influencing circle? If we can't get in there, we can eventually go down and go downstream and then work our way up. Let's start at the top, right? Also, again, Lily being a BDR doesn't touch our recruitment process. So make sure that you are reaching out to the buyer personas that matter to you. We also want to think about shortcuts not working. We see this every day, right? Shortcuts that are being taken to try and scrape data, do automation, personalization at scale, and hope for the best. These are organizations that still believe in quantity over quality, right? And just think it's a numbers game. That's all I have to do. But it's actually not a numbers game because our buyers are smart. They get all these emails over and over again. So when they see these things happening and they see these things being replicated across multiple brands, they're onto something. Nothing beats the actual work of Show Me You Know Me. So don't do a shortcut. Here's a quick example of that, right? I think we've been seeing this floating around on LinkedIn. If you follow me, you might have seen this floating around on LinkedIn for me. But doing something like this, right? We reach out to a buyer and we say, Kimberly, I saw you engage with Matt's post. Now, the gentleman that's mentioned here is Matt Green, right? And Matt Green is somebody that we are partnered with, works for Sales Assembly. He's an okay fella. But Matt Green made a comment, right? Made a post on LinkedIn. And Kim liked it, which is great. Okay. That's not really personalization. It's just saying, I saw you like this post and now I want to reach out to you. But guess what? When Kimberly got this email, so did I. And so did Sarah. And so did Carol. And so did Paige. And so did Missy, all on the SAM sales team. When you get the same exact email, right? And we share it, we talk about it, right? Somebody might say, oh, here's an email. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I got the same thing. It gives you a brand that isn't great. If we're just personalizing, we're just spamming people, right? Personalizing at scale. Who wants to work with that, right? Who wants to work with us? If we're, as buyers, going to think about who to respond to, it's not going to be the person that took the lazy route. It's going to be the person that made the true investment in who we are and thinking about how to stand out with us. So don't take shortcuts. They truly don't work, right? Again, one of the effects of Show Me You Know Me is that when you show you did your research, your prospect feels like you've shown that you can solve one of their challenges, right? You've also shown that by you doing your research, you've taken the time to earn the time you're asking from them. Where do we find this information? Two really great sources amongst many. LinkedIn, of course, my favorite. And of course, there's also great information, contact data, organizational charts, things like that from ZoomInfo. But I love to look at LinkedIn first. To me, it is the ultimate source of truth and where I always go to. Now, let's say we found the right person. We know our buyer persona. We know who we want to go after. We have our ICP nailed. We've got the list. Tell me what to do now. When we think about this, right? We want to not send an email like this. This is kind of one of our most, our bad examples here. So take a look at the subject line, right? Why does this matter? Why is an email like this bad? If you look at the subject line first, Kimberly, want to collaborate? I found your profile on LinkedIn. Way to go. And as the vice president of your organization, this is something I want to help you with. This is personalization at scale, right? It's just pulling information in directly from a CRM, from LinkedIn, from ZoomInfo. It's not really doing anything with it, right? It's showcasing that we haven't, in fact, done our research. So what is the difference between show me, you know me, and personalization at scale? I think that example is exactly that, personalization at scale. So what's the difference? What is the difference between show me, you know me, and that? Again, personalization at scale, what you see here is what we typically see. Kimberly, let's chat. Hi, Kimberly. Again, interested in getting more replies to your cold emails, Sam sales? Let's show you out. Book some time on my calendar. I want you to just take a look at this email. And as I flip to the next slide, you're going to see the brackets pop up, right? We'll go back and forth a little bit. We'll do a little dance with these slides. But the brackets pop up, and that's just pulling information. It might be a snippet from our CRM. It might be something we've written before. It might be something that's been approved to say, but it doesn't really relate to who we actually are as an individual. That's personalization at scale. Now, this might have been cool, right, back in 2016, but we know it's a robot doing it. So we know that this email also went out to 78 other people. It doesn't do anything that shows the person's actually made the effort. Also, our competition is using personalization at scale. Again, just a couple of emails here. Event invitation. Riveting. I open up this email and then what do I see? I was about to call you at, here's my phone number. Anybody want to give me a call? When we look at this, right, I was about to call you at this phone number. Thank you for telling me what my phone number is. I figured you might be in the middle of something. And also if you follow me, you know I'm not a big fan of cold calls, so don't call me. You look at the rest of this, right? There's nothing in here that really shouts out personalization to me. It's not show me, you know me, it's personalization at scale. The other thing is, again, putting in brackets at the bottom, pulling our company name, that's it. Another thing, again, subject line. If you're struggling with budget cuts, you're not alone. This is generic marketing content, right? It's not show me, you know me. It's not specific to me. And then I get the most beautiful part. I don't even get a name. It's personalization at scale, but it's also automation fail. Dear name. Wish I had a name. Only I was so lucky enough. The rest of this email we could talk about forever, but we really want to focus on, again, is how do we make this better? Final part that I would say here, take a look at the subject line. Again, Kimberly thoughts, right? We're researching consulting companies in Kailua, and Sam Sales came up. Kailua is in Hawaii where Kim lives, but that's not where our headquarters are. We don't technically have a headquarters, right? I'm in Washington, D.C., but we got people everywhere. So we want to think about how do we show that we've actually made this effort? Final piece that I would mention here in terms of what not to do, passion about poverty alleviation. Oh, well, maybe, because I actually am, and it's something that we raise money for here at Sam Sales. But then if you look at the rest of it, right, you can tell it's personalization at scale. I see that you're passionate about poverty alleviation. Curious to know what got you interested in this and how you stay involved. What got me interested in it? I don't know. I care about humanity and I want to help them. And then you look at the rest of it, right? Rising companies in Washington. I'm sure you've noticed the massive spike in recently founded companies in the District of Columbia, which brings me to my point. We've created a better than good enough mock-up of Sam Sales Consulting's all written incorrectly website. So let me get this straight. You're trying to, one, connect with me about poverty alleviation, but you're not actually tying the dots on what is it that you want to talk about with that? Is it something you're passionate about, right? There's no authenticity there. And then you're telling me that you can help make a better than good enough mock-up of our website. So are you telling me that our website looks like it's just good enough? Thanks for the compliment. This amazing part is that this email went out to many of us on our team and also went out to the person who designs and creates our website, Missy. So not a great way to start off with not a compliment here, right? So we want to make sure that we personalize correctly. How we do this personalization matters. And I'll tell you too, I think it seems like a very straightforward concept, but we just got an email submitted from a friend of ours that's really trying to learn this on his own. And he said, I did a few emails that were really great. And then I did one that wasn't so great. What did I miss here? And in the email, it said, we can help you build efficiencies in your time, which I think is going to be really important when your baby XYZ comes, into the world. This person was expecting a baby. And instead of kind of writing a PS at the end of like, by the way, I saw you're expecting a baby. I saw your post on LinkedIn. Congrats. We kind of worked it into the email in a super creepy way. So you want to be mindful of how we personalize. It really matters. So let's think about how we do this. First, wanted you to think about, again, your competition is not doing this. This is a VP of a global sales solutions team, manages probably about 1,500 or so individuals. And the thing that I love about this post that she made is in the last 3 years, she's received 4 personalized emails. 4. This is a person that people, all of us probably on the phone, would kill to get in front of. So you think about this, 4 personalized emails. Make the effort to do this. It is so important. So how do we do it? How do we warm up our cold outreach? First and foremost, our subject line is the most important thing. I want you to think about this. Look at your inbox, right? Here's an example of it. Look at your inbox. What is the first thing we look at? If we see a name we don't recognize, the first thing that we're looking at is the subject line. And this is kind of what a normal inbox looks like. This might be even what your inbox looks like. If it doesn't look like this, head over to your spam folder and you will see a lot of this. So look at these subject lines, right? What do they say? They all say generic, personalization at scale, and psst, I want to sell you something. So meeting request, Sam says consulting available to talk. No, really, can I make an intro? No, thanks. Quick introduction, quick question, sales stack, which I believe should be 2 words with an extra S. All sorts of things here, right? That just say, I'm going to sell you something. So what matters here is that we create a great subject line. What's an example outside of that of some of the subject lines we typically see at Sam Sales? A couple of these. We might have hashtag Sam Sales plus DuPont, right? Let's say somebody's reaching out from Sam Sales, trying to get into DuPont. We put the company names there. That's it. Not the right way to do it. Another subject line, again, hey, brackets, insert somebody's name. And then subject line, connecting the world to the right doctors. How is that relevant to us, maybe in SaaS tech? How is that relevant to our organization? And it's just a generic marketing subject line. This might be, that final one might be great for your marketing team to send if you are in fact in that space. But otherwise, all it just says is I made no effort and I'm not doing anything to catch your attention. Instead, let's do something that looks like this, right? Subject line, Switzerland plus Le Dip cheeseburger plus whatever your company name is. Now, if you read the subject line and you're like, but Sam, this makes absolutely no sense. I have no idea what that means. Then we've done our job correctly because this subject line was written just for me. I'm originally from Switzerland. I live in Washington, D.C., where there is a restaurant called Le Diplomat that has the most amazing double cheeseburger ever. It feels like a sin ordering it there. Trust me, it's amazing. And then put your company name last. So if you send me an email that looks like this, what I'm going to think is this person knows something about me, right? Definitely knows where I live and made an effort to go a little bit above and beyond instead of just being like Washington, D.C. in the subject line, and then put the company name in. I know what Switzerland is. I know what Le Dip is. I don't know what your company name is, but I'm going to open it because I can tell that you at least made an effort, right? That matters. So you think about the subject line, right? We use that show me, you know me, and we'll talk about where to find it and how to get all this data later. But that subject line is so important. And then what? Then what do we do? The next sentence is our most important one. And what we often find, right, that first sentence is that people will write things like, hope this finds you well, happy Monday, there's no such thing, am I right? I hope this finds you and your family doing great, or it launches into a sales pitch, right? Leading companies in tech are using XYZ companies, nobody cares. So when you think about that, right, the subject line in the first sentence, we combine those, really important that we nail it. This is one of the examples of what we use, right? Our standard kind of go-to thinking about a first sentence is how important it is, but here's something we use, right? Hey, Bill, I've yet to be properly introduced, but I'm Sam McKenna. And now, before you at me on this, a lot of people talk about the fact that we shouldn't introduce ourselves in the first sentence, right? What a waste of space. But here's what I want to tell you about this combination. If we write a show me you know me subject line, if you write Switzerland plus Le Dip cheeseburger plus your company name, and then you say, hey, Sam, we've yet to be properly introduced. I'm Bill Johnson, and we'll finish that sentence. That triggers me to think something, right? Let me go back to this. If you look at this inbox here, and if you see a subject line that looks like that, and that in the preview text, right, that first sentence, we've yet to be properly introduced, it makes me think something, right? It makes me think that you have done your research on me and that we should have been introduced. So I look at the subject line, I think about that we've yet to be properly introduced. I think, should somebody have introduced us? Is there something important that I need to open? And your open rates will skyrocket. Now, another thing that you can do is go right directly into the show me, you know me, right? So there's a lot of people that I know, myself included, that sometimes post about their dogs. So you might say something like that, right? You might put the name of the dog in your subject line. You might say, I saw your recent post about your adorable furry companion, Melvin, right? And talk about that. I have dogs too. They're always at my feet. I love that I can work from home. It's a great way to do that show me, you know me, connect with the person on a human level, and authentically tie it to something you know and do. The key that misses in most show me, you know me's is that it ends after one sentence. So if you say, I saw your recent post about your dog, Melvin, cute picture, want to buy my stuff? No. Or if you say, hey, Sam, I was looking at your profile. I saw you went to FSU. Go Knowles. Want to buy my stuff? No. What about it? Why did that make you reach out to me? Why was that something that you wanted to connect on authentically? These are the things that we can look up. And I'll tell you, if it's on their LinkedIn profile, it's fair game. Anything on there is fair game. If they talk about loving scuba diving, or that they're a parent, or that they're a world traveler, or that they believe in DEI issues, whatever it is, all of that on their profile is fair game, right? Connect authentically with that. There are things you can find to chat about with someone. Another way you can think about this is, let's say you were going to meet this prospect at a networking event. You're going to the same conference, you were going to be at a happy hour or something. You were going to do your research in advance, right? You don't want to show up and not know anything about them. What would you talk about? What small talk would you make? What questions would you ask them? These are all things you can do to figure out your research and to connect with them. Again, making sure that we authentically connect the dots is important. We do not want to say, I see you went to FSU. Do you want to buy my stuff? We want to make sure we authentically connect the dots. Now, let's think about a few more things here, right? Couple more wrong ways to do this. Subject line, your webinar plus Acme Core, yet to be properly produced. Kim, I loved your webinar. I'll talk to you more about what. Which webinar? What webinar? Which was the one you liked? Why did you like something about it, right? Make sure we talk about that. Samantha and Checkbook, streamlining your payments. Very exciting. Hope you're having an awesome day. So reaching out because I was doing a bit of research on the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and I saw that you were the second place winner in a fundraising campaign in 6th grade. What an incredible accomplishment. Thank you so much for rewarding my accomplishment a few years ago, 12 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't want to talk about it. You want to make sure that whatever you reach out with is authentic. And this is just a great, again, example of personalization at scale. Think about that first sentence too. I hope you're having an awesome day. We don't want to waste that first sentence on niceties. Now, being from Switzerland, I'm all about manners. I want to make sure that we're always polite, but reverse the niceties when it comes in your email. It can feel a little uncomfortable at first, but dive right into it, get to the point, and then close out. Hope you're having an awesome day. Otherwise, hope to hear from you soon. Use the nicety there. Now, the reason it feels uncomfortable is because we're just kind of trained to do that, like make small talk before we get to what we want. But think about what happens when people do that to you, right? You get a text from somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, and they're like, hey, Sam, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And you're like, what do you want? Right? Instead, if the person was like, hey, Sam, it's been a long time, wanted to chat with you about XYZ, see if I could get your help on something, see if you had this recommendation. Okay, great. How have you been otherwise, right? When we reverse the nicety, when we cut to the chase of what we want while still having the nicety there, make impact as such a much more authentic person. So consider that in your outreach. Now, final just thing to mention here on this email, invitation from, right? That's all the subject line says. We hope you're helping, company name, with your exceptional customer service success leadership this first quarter. I think the fun thing about this too was that it was sent in Q2, so not the first quarter. And then just pulling a name of one of our clients from our website. Cool, riveting. Again, it goes into a really long stuff, really long email, marketing email. There's no personalization to me and the challenges that I have. Final note here, subject line, your web content download, plus show me you know me, plus hashtag Sam sales. Okay, we're almost there, right? We've got some great stuff, got a little personalization, but take a look, right? We recently reviewed your LinkedIn profile again, kind of starting with weird stuff here. And based on your content, I thought that our team at XYZ could help increase the visibility of your great sales tips. We specialize in boosting your LinkedIn search rankings, etc. By the way, I've been a fan of Show Me You Know Me for years. Well, if you've been a fan of it, why aren't you doing it, right? So here's the right way. Here's what something really good looks like. Pet photos on LinkedIn, plus beach waves in the sand, plus podcast. we're targeting somebody like Kim Collins on our team. You look at this and you think, you can look, she's an open book on LinkedIn, just as I am. So this is where we can find great information on Show Me You Know Me. Look on her LinkedIn profile. What's she posting? What does she have in her about section? What's in her headline? Even, by the way, if you're like, oh, this is great, but my buyers are not on LinkedIn, what do I do? Even if there is a tumbleweed literally floating by on their profile and there's nothing there, look at their website, pull things from their principles, their values, their recent earnings statements. There's so much you can pull from. And bonus, when you do that, anything at the company level, you can also scale that. So you can use that in a little bit of a scaly way while still making authentic Show Me You Know Me. If you read the rest of this email, it starts with, I'm a follower of your whole team at Sam Sales. I always laugh when I see your comments pop up in my feed in response to a dog photo or pet spam, as you call it. I adored that photo of James's dog as well. Goldens are the best. So you're authentically tying some thoughts together, right? You're making small talk, you're connecting with someone at a human level. And then just look at the transition, right? Although I could go on for days about my golden Charlie, the real reason for my outreach is XYZ. So you're bringing that Show Me You Know Me front and center. You're connecting authentically. You're making that small talk. You're building human connection. And then you're using authentic transitions to go on. So listen, I could talk about pet spam forever, and I hope I do. What I really want to talk to you about is how I can sell you my stuff. You'll see that the rest of it, right, ties. Every single thing in the subject line ties in the rest of the email. It's authentic. It's human. It's connecting. Sales emails do not do this. Yes, this is more work. Yes, this takes more time. Yes, it is a new muscle to build, but it pays off, right? People will respond to this in such a positive way, even if they have nothing for you. But I'll also tell you, we get so many responses to outreach like this for our clients. When people respond and say, I got to hand to you, I've never seen an email like this. People never make the effort. I don't have a need for you. I'm not the right person. How can I help you? Who can I get you in front of? What is your ideal buyer persona? What can I do to help? So even doing this effort, right? Even if you're not getting in front of the right person, oftentimes people just appreciate the work that you've done and they'll respond. Now, one quick note before we move on from this, I want to mention, if Kim responds and she says, oh my gosh, dogs, pet spam, pet spam. Yes, I'd be happy to take a meeting. Let me know what is a good date and time. When you respond, you want to make sure to not just cut to the chase of the meeting, right? Because what it basically then does is kills your authenticity. If I respond to that message and I'm like, Kim, great, thanks. How about Tuesday at 4:00? I need to still connect with her on what she shared with me. So whatever she shared with me about dogs or pet spam or whatever my Show Me You Know Me was, that is the authentic building of relationships. So make sure you don't just cut to the chase. Now, the other thing I would say is if Kim responds and she says, I'd love to meet Thursday at 2, send an invite. Before you send an invite, just to keep up your authenticity and frankly, just good manners, respond and say, Kim, here's my thoughts on your pet spam that you responded about. I'm going to send you an invite for Thursday at 2:00. Just wanted to say thank you so much for the response. Looking forward to it. And then send the invite. What an awesome way to just show that you're not just a greedy person who's after a meeting, when we might all be greedy people who are just after meetings, and just connect with that person, right? Make the effort. Now, a couple of things here in terms of our cold outreach. Show Me You Know Me on the person is the most important thing. If you can do it, do it. If there is data that's available on their LinkedIn profile that we can connect with, do it. If all else fails and there's absolutely no available information, you can't even find them on LinkedIn, work on the company. Perhaps you work with their company, the buyer persona and the industry. I want to highlight just that third point right in the middle, your work with their company. I cannot tell you how many times people have done outreach to me for my previous employers. Have you ever heard of LinkedIn? What? Have you ever heard of LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Have you ever heard of On24? We'd love to talk to you about your webinars. Have you heard of On24 before, where I used to work? Yeah, I've kind of heard of them. Tell me more. I should really just take them for a run and book the meeting, shouldn't I? No, I'm nicer than that. But make sure you look in your CRM before you do outreach, right? Really important that you have this data. Who are these people? Have they worked with you before? Are the names of the individuals, particularly important ones, or before you take a discovery call with somebody, show them that you know them. Have they been tied to opportunities that have closed one before? Was this client previously a client? Is the person that you're reaching out to or you're connecting with somebody that's engaged with your company before? What an amazing way for you to stand out in doing that. And it's also just great. Show Me You Know Me. How many times people will reach out to existing clients and not even know that they're an existing client, right? They'll try to book meetings. They'll say, have you heard of us? And then somebody will respond and say, yeah, we're your client. And hey, by the way, I'm your buyer. Now, this seems like not a very difficult mistake to make, but it happens all the time. And in fact, I still get calls all the time. And I just got one a few days ago, hiring for On24. And I said, well, I haven't worked there in 7 years, so I'm not really sure what their hiring goals are. Person was very confused and hung up, but I want to make sure we're doing this right. Again, if there's absolutely no information on their profile, right, make sure you take a look at their website and dig in some information there. If we do cold outreach, we want, again, show me you know me on the person, the company, or work with their company. And then again, show me you know me is in the value proposition of how we can solve a challenge for the buyer persona and the industry. Who are we reaching out to, right? Who are we selling to? Let's dive into each one of these correctly and think about how we do that show me you know me on the person. So one, if we look at somebody's LinkedIn profile, right, and we find something about, let's say they were the first female to do something, or they talk about stretch opportunities, this is a great way to put this in the subject line. We looked at this individual, Linda, and we found she said these really cool things on her LinkedIn profile, right? She's the first female to do something. She's always looking for stretch opportunities. We can do this and we can weave this in an authentic way. Your show me you know me in no way has to be tied to the value proposition that you're doing or the product that you're pitching. It can be all about the person, what you have in common, or what you can exchange information on. We often forget when we're doing our outreach that we're talking to another human being, right? That's what they are. They're not just a buyer, they're a person. So thinking about how you can pull things in like this from their profile, from things you find, from articles, from podcasts, from webinars that they've done, and you can do that. If you send me an email and you talk about pineapples and show me you know me, I'm probably going to answer, right? Great, easy way for you to pull that information down. Again, you look at the subject line, it doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense to Linda. Great way to work that in. Now, how do we do it on the company, right? Let's say, again, tumbleweeds on the profile, we've got nothing to find. We want to stay away from something that looks like this. Congratulations on acquiring Acme Corp. Why do we want to stay away from this? The reason we want to stay away from this is that this is basically just a compelling event that everyone else is using, right? It's called a trigger or a compelling event. And a lot of people talk about this of like, oh, focus on compelling events, earnings report, acquisitions, fundraising, things like that, right? Where they've raised funds, raised capital, they've raised their Series B. The reason you don't want to do that, however lovely that is, the reason you don't want to do that is why? Because every single other person is doing that exact same thing, right? When we were trying to help a client go after Tesla a couple of years back, right? Tesla had just made its fifth quarter of positive earnings and made it to the S&P 500. Our client was like, this is what we will do. We will tell them about the S&P 500 and congratulate them. We'll be the only ones in the planet to do it. It'll be great. And we're like, let's pull back, right? Because everyone else is doing it. So instead, we thought about something. We looked a little bit more. What else could Tesla possibly be doing? And we found that Tesla was doing these really cool pop-up shops throughout Europe to educate people on renewable energies, and then of course Tesla. But we referenced that instead. We used that in our subject line. We sent it to about 400 marketers and we got a 38% response rate. Huge, right? Not a lot of effort, figured out a way to scale, right? Tied that to their company and something really cool that's going on. It was a great way. In fact, we got feedback. Your email stood out in a sea of congrats on the S&P 500. Really easy stuff that we can do, again, to stand out. So think about this instead, right? Instead of congrats on your fundraising, congrats on your acquisition, look and see what else the company is doing. Perhaps they have a podcast, perhaps they have a series, perhaps they have a webinar series like this that they're doing. Who's trying to get in front of Outplay? Anybody? Here is your chance to do exactly that, right? Reference this, talk about something you learned. Reach out to the CEO or the director of demand generation who happens to be on our call. Reach out to them and reference something about one of the events that you attended. Listen to a podcast, listen to something, pull a quote down. Yes, it takes more work. Yes, it is a new muscle to build. How many times am I going to say that? Yes, it makes impact. So make sure you focus on that. Buyer persona, right? Perhaps I don't really have anything on the company, but I want to focus on solving a challenge of the VP of sales, CRO, head of IT, whatever that might be. So let's think about this. This is an email that was specifically written for an editor, right? Little fun little subject line, helping you break up with your red pen. An editor is going to think about that, right? What's redlining? We take a document, we still do that this day and age, kind of do it on Google Docs, right? But you take a red pen and you redline it. We talk about that. It's a very standard term, redline contracts or redline editorials. So putting even just something like that to hit home, right, with the buyer persona and specifically what they do, make a little joke, right, in the email is great. And then you say, as an editor, you know one thing to be true. First draft of any story is often best used as a crumpled ball for playing hoops with a trash can, if we still had paper and did things like that. But again, just a clever subject line that focuses on the buyer persona and thinks about a challenge that they might have. And then again, show me you know me on your work with a company. So if you think about this, somebody is reaching out to Sam Sales. One of the things that they can do is reference things that we do, people that they know here, etc. Catherine Kirk is our head of customer success and our chief of staff. Trevor Project is a really awesome charity that we support here at Sam Sales. Good timing in June with LGBTQ Pride Month. And then Acme Company, whatever your company might be, right? I'm Monica. We've yet to be properly introduced. My name is Missy. I'm part of the implementation team at Acme. You may be familiar with our team as we've been working with the wonderful Catherine Kirk, etc. Now, one thing to just notice here, as you land and expand, a great show me you know me is using the names of the individuals that you work with. However, to do this with manners and do this authentically, we want to get permission first. So if you just reference, hey, we already work with another team, we'd love to work with you. First, just ask for permission. And this is one of the easiest things that you can also do to get referrals. And then you don't have to do any of this show me you know me work, right? Reach out to Catherine and say something like, hey, Catherine, we love working with you. Thank you so much for all your business and everything you do with us. Before we start to reach out to other departments at Sam Sales, I'd love to ask you, is there anybody that you think has similar challenges to you? Do you think there are any other of your peers or people in other lines of business that would find value in what we do? Love your recommendation or introduction. If not, do you mind if we reference your name when we do outreach? So you want to be really mindful of that. Catherine might say, oh my gosh, I have 16 people you should meet. You can 100% use my name and tell them I said to reach out. She might also say, I don't mind if you reference my name. You know, when you reach out, that's fine. If she's a little bit more removed, one, really just good signal. Do we have trust issues? Do we have something to build here? Or she might just be a private person, doesn't really want her name floated around. But if she says something like that, be really mindful of the semantics that you use in your email. The last thing you want to do is write Catherine Kirk in the subject line and then say, hey, Monica, Catherine suggested I reach out. Because she didn't. She said you could use her name, but she didn't suggest you reach out. So be really, really careful of that when you do use that show me you know me. Super important. Final thing here, show me you know me on the industry, right? How do we show that we understand their space? You guys also know, right, that there are some verticals that are really particular, like the legal space. If anybody's in legal marketing or at a law firm, you know what I'm talking about. The legal space is particular, right? And then kind of sniff out a rat pretty quickly. If you don't know their space, if you don't know their products, if you don't know that their attorneys are the product, right? If you use kind of salesy terms or things like that, they're going to know that you don't know them and they're going to kick you to the curb. So it's really important that we demonstrate that expertise if we've got it. And if we're selling to that space and we don't have expertise, we need to find somebody who does have that expertise internally at your company. So look at something like this, subject line. Working on something for your 200 plus bosses plus Acme Corporation. We're selling to law firms. Most business development managers, directors of business development support 50 attorneys, 100, 200 attorneys sometimes. It's a lot of attorneys to support. So just showing that we know their space and we understand that, making a little bit of a joke there also is a great way to show authenticity and personality, right? Across all these spectrums, the person, the buyer persona, the industry, the human, right? There's so much that you can do to succeed. Just a quick little checklist in case you want to take a screenshot here. We want to think about what's really important, who we do show me you know me to, and at what level. I would say make the effort no matter what on your C-suite or your directors plus heads of for larger companies. If we're talking about 1,000 employees or more, if you've got a director plus, we want to focus on the human. Odds are you're going to be able to find something, article, podcast, webinar, something on their LinkedIn profile that you can connect with, or hopefully a common connection. But keep in mind, right, the higher they go, the more emails they're getting. I just spoke at a legal marketing conference about 2 weeks ago, and the chief marketing officer that was my co-presenter said that he gets anywhere from 10 to 50 emails a day. So it's really important that we think the higher we go, how can we really stand out with a bang up subject line? Now, Show me, know me. Let's bleed a little bit into the rest of how we sell authentically. It's not just for cold emails, right? Show me, you know me is also showing up to calls and paying attention to the person that's on your call. Pay attention to their background. Do you hear a dog barking? Is there a cat, right? This seems to happen on like so many of my calls where a cat just walks by on the desk on top of the keyboard, right? Like tail on the screen, nobody bats an eyelash. And I'm like, hello, there's a cat here. What else? Is there a guitar in their background? Is there a pineapple framed on their wall? Are you being driven nuts by the fact that there's a lamp back here? Like my media coach always tells me I have to get rid of, and I just refuse to do. What is it you can talk about, right? Sometimes there's nothing. Other times there's lots, right? Most of the time you'll find things like Legos, or people who have like, weird, like The Office dolls in their background. And I mean, great, not weird. And you can talk about it, right? People will sometimes have the neck of a guitar. So let me tell you this just quick story. One of our clients, we did a large training, the VP of sales was on the call, his whole team was on the call. It was, I think, actually a second line manager, so a lot of people on the call. And there was nothing in his background. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Except, just like over here, there was the tiny neck of a guitar sticking out, right? The little, I'm sure they have an official name. Somebody knows on them, the little things that you wind to tune it, I think. Anyway, don't yell at me. But you could just see the little part popping out. And so I like literally looked like I was leaning, and I said, is that a guitar in your Zoom frame? And he looked a little awkward, and he was like, oh, and he turns his camera, and all of a sudden we can see a wall of guitars behind him. And we're all like, wait, what? And I was like, do you play guitar? Do you love it? And he's like, I'm really bad at it. And he's like, but I collect them. His team didn't even know. They were like, oh, we had no idea. And I was like, guys, I'm like, this is your boss. You have to show your boss you know them, but especially your clients. So think about how you can do little gestures to make impact, right? We knew that. We also heard that guitar players are really persnickety about their guitar picks. So we created a little guitar pick for him. I think this cost us a whopping $6, including shipping. And we had it customized just for him. Think about how you can stand out. Maybe somebody gives you a meeting and you're like, this is a really important meeting. This is my one into this account. I want to make an impact. So do something a little special, right? People send us like pineapple things all the time, right? A little note card with a pineapple or a pineapple sticker. Things like this don't have to break the bank, but man, will they make impact. Now, one thing that just quickly pops up a lot, how do I get that person's home address without being super creepy? Excellent question. Number one, you can use a bunch of partners like Sendoso and things like that to take advantage of that. But if you're, a little small shop and you don't use things like that, or you're like, well, my company doesn't do that and I want to do it, just ask this. Hey, Sam, had a great meeting with you. Really appreciate your time. Here's the follow-up stuff I'm going to send you. By the way, just like to keep our records in line, can you share your best mailing address with me in case we ever want to pop a little something in the mail to you? Use whatever language is authentic to you, right? Pop a little something in the mail is very authentic to me. But ask for the mailing address. And when you do that, most people will give you their home addresses, right? Especially if it's an existing client. They've already built trust with you. If they don't send you their home address, then again, maybe some trust issues there to work through. And then I think the other thing is then get something timely out to them. A thank you note, a little Sam sales thing, a little, trinket with your name on it. Do something like that to make impact. Okay. Now, as a kind of wrap up, how do we find all of this information, right? Where do we go? Should we go to Facebook? Should I go to LinkedIn? Should I stand on their stoop and look through their windows of their home? Not the answer. So one, LinkedIn, Google, company resources. So again, look at LinkedIn. This is so overlooked. And I know we're talking about this over and over again, but I'll tell you, when we run deal strategies, we talk to reps all the time. We're like, oh, I cannot crack this one account. And I'm like, well, who do you know there? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, great. So make sure this is a standard part of your process, right? If somebody's going to introduce me, if somebody's going to make a common connection, if we get an inbound lead, I am immediately over to LinkedIn. I want to know exactly everything that I can know about them. Common connections, authentic connection, right? Dogs, hometown, schools that you cheer for, whatever. Compelling post, college, hometown. All of this stuff goes a long way. Read their about section, right? You'll see some really cool about sections. Quick side note, if you want to work on your LinkedIn, look at every single member of the SAM sales team. We have, in my humble opinion, really fabulous about sections. He'll teach you a good idea of how to write these and how to be a little bit more personal when you do eventually reach out to people on LinkedIn. Google them. Articles, podcasts, charity work, news, company events. Want to make sure that we stay within like 6, 9 months, something like that, right? For news, if there's a massive paper that they wrote or something that's referenced on their LinkedIn of like some horribly boring, I mean, exciting, reference paper that they wrote in 1979, you can still reference it, right? And you can also use a little self-deprecating humor. Not sure if you even remember this article, but I read it. It was great. If I try to keep 6, 9 max 12 months on something, right? I stumbled across your article, AKA I was talking to you. I stumbled across your article. I loved this quote from last April, right? Just talk about it that way. Use your words wisely. And then again, podcasts, webinars, pull a quote out from this. It will tell you, just a really cool example of this is a guy named Brian Millar. He's on our website. He used to work at TransUnion. TransUnion is a client of ours, and we talked all about Show Me You Know Me. And Brian listened, and he went home, and he was like, no way that this works. And so he gave it a shot though. He was like, let me just prove myself right that this doesn't work. So a company had been ghosting him for about 6 months. He listened to this woman's podcast. He pulled a quote out from her. He put it in the subject line. You know where this is going. She responded in less than 10 minutes, booked the meeting. And he's like, what the hell just happened? And we're like, we know, go do it again. So he did 3 more times, exact same response. He wrote an email to his leadership and then sent it to us as well and said, I got to tell you, I was a skeptic. I tried it. It worked. I'll do anything the Sam sales team tells me to do now. So look up this stuff. Take the time to listen to something. Throw your AirPods in while you're walking your dogs or doing your laundry or exciting bathtub at night with your kids, whatever it may be, right? Take the time to listen to something and pull something. It does not need to be a 60-minute thing you listen to. Skim it. Get the Cliff Notes. Put it on 1.5 times. Listen to it quickly. And company resources. Again, blog, web design, and can you compliment them on something? Anything in news related of charity work they're doing, events, foundations they support, etc. There's so much information you can find here. What to avoid, right? Again, do not show up on their stoop and look in their windows. Avoid private accounts, personal images, family events. I don't like to go on things like Pinterest, TikTok, unless they are a TikTok star, and then you can have at it. Facebook and Instagram, again, unless they are some kind of, influencer, and then they will love the attention. But otherwise, stay away from that. We do see this done incorrectly sometimes, right? And it can come across very creepy. If it is on LinkedIn and it is even about their family and things they do, where they grew up, it's fair game. If it is about their families on private social media, let it go there. Even if their Facebook and things like that is public, just stay away from that area. And then Google personal family blogs, Yelp reviews, anything personal. I did leave a kind of scathing Yelp review once, and somebody referenced it in a Show Me You Know Me, and I was like, thank you for reminding me about that. It's very strange. So really easy places to look for content, right? And again, more often than not, you've got great avenues in LinkedIn and their company page. Just stay away from this kind of stuff. All right, let me close out here. I know we probably have a couple of questions and Q&A. I will stop sharing so we can go full screen. And we'll defer to you, Sandeep, for any questions we might have that I can answer.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sam. It was phenomenal. A lot of learning here. I've got my notes down as well. I'm sure all of you who've joined the call today, a lot of people stayed back right till the end. That's phenomenal.
Thanks.
Great numbers we had today. But with that, like Sam said, we'll pick up a couple of questions. There are a few questions that came in. I'm just going to try and pick a few. There are a lot of questions that came in fact. This is interesting. I think you partially answered this towards the end. One was, so Amanda, in fact, asked, how do you find something to use for the Show Me You Know Me method if there's actually no personal information on their profile? Does one just move along with the company profile and use that as the means to reach out to that individual?
I would say don't look at the company profile, go to their website. So specifically go to the website, avoid the LinkedIn profile and go to their website. One of the easiest places that you can go for information is to look for their, like, who are we? Principles and values. And I think that's a really cool thing that you can usually authentically tie to, because you will have something there that you can connect with. So if they say, again, we value diversity, we value this, we value, remote hiring, whatever that might be, or their mission statement or their principles, easy way to connect and just build a relationship with someone. If that's not there, take a look again, charities they support, things that are in the news recently, podcasts or webinars that they are showcasing of their executives. Lots to find there.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Oh, this one's nice. This one's by Pete. Very real problem. Currently, we are doing personalization at scale. Although I can't win this argument with our old leadership who believes this is a numbers game. What would you suggest?
Hopefully your leaders aren't on the call for the answer that I'm about to give. I would say a little good old-fashioned insubordination works well here. Hit your metrics, do your personalization at scale. In fact, I would say try to maybe just mix up the buyer persona that those personalization at scale emails are going to. So maybe it goes, let's say, to the BDR about recruiting efforts, and then carve out an hour of your time prospecting every single day if you can, or do this on the weekend, like give some extra credit. Invest the time, do these emails. And when you start to see higher numbers than the rest, your leaders will come to you and say, what are you doing differently? And you can politely say, ignoring your advice. I'm just going to tell you real quick. We just posted about this, a great story. John did this exact same thing. A guy, John, I posted about him a little quote. He got put on a PIP in March and he was like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore every single thing that my leadership says and I'm going to do what Sam says instead. In April, he had 190% of his quota. He went from PIP to 190%, right? He even posted about it also a couple of days ago. So it really works. Do what you need to do to keep them off your back and hit your metrics, and then give this a shot.
Awesome. We'll take a couple more questions. One more here is, what's the biggest mistake people make with the show me, know me method? And how do folks avoid this pitfall? Zoe asks this.
Hi Zoe. It's the creepy stuff. First and foremost, I think I guess I'll give you one tangible one. It's called what's called burying the lead. So burying the lead, LEDE, is a newspaper term, right? Where we, instead of putting a big headline, it's like 7 pages down, you finally get to the point of the article or the email. So be mindful to do that. It always has to go in the subject line. A quick just practice I can give you is, let's say you've sent somebody 9 emails, right? You've sent them the sequence that goes out and you're trying to get them to follow up and answer your email. If you have something compelling to say to them, let's say you're going to be in their city, there's an executive roundtable you're hosting, there's a cool, webinar you want them to be a part of, something interesting and self-serving to them, put it before the RE of your subject line. It will look really funky, but when you have, invitation to our suite, ? Right? And then you have RE, and then the rest of your subject line, it perks the person's ears up, right? They're like, what's happening? Like a little confused dog. And they'll open it. We did this when we were trying to get people to come to the Nats Park here in Washington, DC for a baseball game. My rep buried the lead. He resent all the emails with that before the RE, and lo and behold, everybody went from 0 responses to a lot of responses.
Awesome. There's one more question, I think very similar to the previous one. So with the prevalence of one-to-many email automation tools used by most sales orgs today, should sales or biz dev teams be investing in a researcher and email campaign specialist? Or should we rethink the activity and time spent by SDRs and AEs, prioritizing research and personalization in the daily activity? This is by Erin.
I would say make sure it's an individual thing you guys are learning. At my level, right, as a CEO, as a 7-figure earner, I'm still doing this exact same thing. I am still doing show me, you know me, and researching. So it's a skill you really want to learn. This poor researcher, by the way, even if you're a 10-person team, it's a lot to keep up with, right? So you want to make sure that those individuals are doing it. I would also say, the way that you send your emails out, right? Like using a platform like Outplay, everything can be pre-written except for that first email. So I would say that's the one that's authentic, that should be manual, that should have you typing information in. The rest of it can go and be specific to that space and that buyer persona, but take the time to invest in that skill set yourself.
Awesome. I think we'll take one more. This is very interesting. I think this is more probably a generic question in that sense. So Emmanuel asked this question. So I'm selling to local council authorities, directors of children's services. What's the best approach to these kind of executives?
What was the kind of executive again?
Local council authorities, directors of children's services.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're not on LinkedIn, again, I would look specifically at the organization. I would think about what the organization does. Maybe that's even inspiring to you. So like the children's services piece, like might just be a great thing for you to talk about, why you're passionate about working with organizations like that. And then councils, I'm not sure if that's a lawyer piece, but like lawyers love to talk about themselves. So referencing anything that they've written or been a part of, right? Again, if they've published articles, written something, written a post, been at a conference, great way to connect with them at a human level. And I will say just one thing. I saw a question pop up about what's the deal with the urgent bird back here on my profile. Urgent bird, I'll tell you, the urgency to me is something that should not be a differentiator in sales. because it should be the standard, but it isn't. So if you can think of one other thing to make yourself stand out, it's urgency at which you respond to leads, urgency at which you respond to referrals, urgency at which you respond to client questions. It does not seem like a differentiator, but it really, really is, and it'll help you stand out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sam. I think we're just about time. We're almost on the hour. It was great having you. And hope all of you have learned quite a few things. Thanks a lot, Sam. And for all the folks out there, of course, we will be sharing a recording of this for the folks who've attended and folks who missed the session as well. So you can go back, take your notes again, do try out all of Sam, the techniques suggested at Sam Sales Consulting as well. We are definitely going to try it out. I saw quite a few folks from Outplay as well join right here. So we're going to see our SDRs do, and hopefully we're going to try and hit that 190% attainment rate that you earlier mentioned on as well. Thanks a lot for that. For the folks who joined, of course, Masters of Sales continues. We've got the next session happening on the 16th of May. This time earlier, it's going to be at 1:30 p.m. EST. It's half an hour earlier. And we've got Kevin Dorsey, KD himself, talking about pipeline over everything. So do join that session. Have a wonderful day. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.